Hello everyone, Kevin IVERSON here, hope you're doing well. Today's video was inspired by a conversation between me and my good friend Dino, who's the keyboard player at the band called The Rifles. If you haven't heard The Rifles, go and check them out. They're on all streaming platforms. Fantastic band, really nice lads as well. I've toured with them a couple of times, played some gigs with them, and me and Dino have played quite a few times at the Marquis, a couple of drunken nights, which is always good fun. But we were talking about Nick McCabe and how much we love Nick McCabe and the Verve, of course. And he said you should do a video on Nick McCabe, so I thought I'll give it a go. I feel a little bit out of my depth, if I'm brutally honest, but his playing, his sound is something that's definitely inspired me, and I've used it on one of my songs. It's a song called Save Ourselves, which is on Spotify and iTunes. And I'll explain to you what I've got from his playing and how I've tried to kind of steal his sound by mainly just using my ears, by listening to him play, and also listening to some of the effects he's used on records. And again, like with all my videos, this is more about using the pedals I've got to recreate sounds that I like, which I've used for my own songs, but also just to sort of play around with those Verve type sounds and whatnot. So hopefully this can shine a light on some of the bits and bobs for you. I'm not saying that I'm 100% accurate. If you're a massive Nick McCabe fanatical fan, you'll probably be disappointed with this video, and that's fine. But anyway, I could have used my Les Paul. I was going to use my Les Paul, but after looking at a few videos, I see him a lot of the time with a Strat, and but his Les Paul sounds great as well. I could have used both on here, but I'm just going to stick with the Strat for today. This is a little bit finicky. I need to get this guitar sorted. It just needs some TLC. But anyway, Strat going into a Crybaby Wah Wah. Probably that's not going to get a lot of use, but it'll get some hopefully. Volume pedal. Out of the volume pedal, it goes in separately to a tuner. But from the volume pedal, you go to a fuzz, overdrive, chorus, echo delay unit, reverb, and into the blues breaker. The clean sound is this. Very clean. The Noble's ODR Mini 2 is on all the time. Look for a little bit of light overdrive. Like it's turning the amp down a bit as well to keep the volume okay on YouTube. I'll start with Lucky Man. Right now, I've got this reverb on. Nick McCabe said that he likes old vintage reverbs with a bit of grit to them, or a bit of a. So they're not really pristine clean. He likes something with a bit of character, from what I heard in an interview he said. I'm just using a Hall reverb on the RV6. I'm not affiliated with any of these pedals, by the way, or any of this gear. So I've kind of got a bit of a heavy reverb. So the first thing I want to say, right, he uses this guitar line quite a lot in different areas, but basically best way I could describe this, right, this is in the key of A. You want to have like an A7, right, but what you do is the notes you're holding down, you just want to be playing those, right? I mean, you can strum out an A chord, an A note, sorry, but you do like an A7, then you sort of move to an A minor 7, but you move it up so your first finger's on the 3rd fret. You move it up to the 5th fret, but you do the A7 chord again. Then the same again, but you move it up to the 7th fret. And then you go back to the A minor 7, but so your first finger's on the 8th fret. So now your first finger's on the 10th fret. 12th fret. So it's like an A7, A minor 7 shapes. I'm not very good at explaining or giving guitar lessons, to be honest with you, but by doing that, if I then make the A string drone out, put a reverb on, and you can carry on going up, of course, because it goes back to the sort of beginning there now, and then move it about a bit. Now the delay, right? There's a lot of repeats on the delay, right? And the reason why I've got a lot of repeats on it is because when you start playing something like that, the notes overlap and it gives you this like church bell ringing effect, which if you listen to like Lucky Man, you can hear like church bells, like especially near the outro. And I believe that's his guitar, where there's so many repeats going on and it's creating this beautiful kind of soundscapey thing. So I'll just sort of demonstrate now with in the style of the Lucky Man, right? So you got so it kind of overlaps each other, and that's what I could hear with Nick McCabe's effects and the way he plays. But then also there's like these other soundscapey things he does, which are really just thinks out the box. Like there's that bit, all that kind of stuff, you know. And then like a D chord, but where he's kind of playing the notes of the D chord, but sort of hammering them on from the open notes. So you're just making these soundscapey noises, which are just beautiful. And I was thinking, like, with, you know, you can get a traditional guitar player, like when you get Champagne Supernova, right? What they're playing in Champagne Supernova is kind of what you expect them to play and what a guitar player would play, you know. Kind of all makes sense in a way, but with Nick McCabe, he kind of adds these other little weird things in there, you know. There's another little part. He does a similar kind of thing, right? But on the G and the E string, high E string, on The Drugs Don't Work. So they're like. Does that, you know, which is a similar thing to what I've just shown you, but you're going on this where the C would be. And then when you've got an acoustic guitar player, you know, playing basic, you know, if I turn these off for a sec, imagine this was acoustic. And then you have another guitar player, Nick McCabe, you know, playing all these beautiful, like, just adds all this colour and stuff to it. It's really quick, really wicked. But also, all I'm doing there, that's just like, got a little bit of overdrive, because that's what I have on all the time anyway. And again, you can hear his guitar's got some drive on it, whether that's from the amps or, you know, I don't think he would have used an overdrive pedal back in the day, but, you know, maybe he would have had a little bit of that going on. But then really it's like the echo with lots of repeats and the reverb. The only thing with that having that lots of repeats is if you make a bum note, everyone's going to hear about 1,200 times. So just be careful of that. And I've used that in one of my own songs. I've got a song called Save Ourselves, right? Let's see if I can remember this. So in my song Save Ourselves, I've basically just nicked, when I recorded it, I recorded the, you know, the main rhythm parts. And then when I overdubbed to some lead parts, I imagined that, you know, I had Nick McCabe there, you know, so the main sort of rhythm part of my song Save Ourselves kind of goes, I need a capo really, but and then the lead part I've got with a bit of chorus on it. And then my chorus goes back to the verse. From what I've just shown you there, you can see well, I've just taken that from Nick McCabe, you know, and just put it into my own song. And that's how he's inspired me, basically. So with the chorus though, how I'm using that is like on the song Life's an Ocean. Uses chorus. Using chorus is it can either sort of make or break your sound really. If you don't use it in the right context, it can sound kind of cheap and nasty in places. But the way he uses it, it's just this really watery, lovely sound, you know. And again, with this chorus, this is the CE2W by Boss. It's quite a lot of money, but you've got a you've got the CE2, the CE1 pedals. And then the third setting is like a vibrato, which in The Drugs Don't Work, I think they've got a guitar with like a rotary sound, but because this does the chorus and the rotary really well. It doesn't sound like a rotary, but it's close enough, so that's why I'll have that pedal on there, right? And that's it for the chorus with what I've got there. I'm not picking every single song, of course. I'm just going through certain things that I know. And then with the fuzz, I'm using that for like the rolling people. So I'm gonna put it on the middle pickup on the Strat, and then see how this sounds. Echo. I haven't really learned that guitar line perfectly, as you can tell, but you get the general gist. But what else I love about the rolling people is when he kind of turns off and goes a bit clean and does that. again. And all that, even those bits as well, you know, he's kind of using the guitar to make stabby noises and create, I say, it just his playing's quite artistic, you know. And again, you can also hear him do those kind of things, you know, where maybe another guitar player would try and play something, he'll just do like, you know, and use the guitar, you know, he gets every single penny out of the guitar basically, you know, he doesn't just use it for one thing. And again, even with a wah-wah, you know, a lot of the time, even if you had the wah on, rather than use it like that, you kind of kick it on but then use it for like a... So it's like you're using the wah as like a filter, just to make the guitar kind of pop and go dark, and it's just really clever way of using effects, and you know you're using every single element to create sound and noise, which is what I love about Nick McCabe. I think that's it really. I think I went through Drugs Don't Work, didn't I? I'm a little bit tired today. I went and saw Alanis Morissette last night, and we've driven from Cardiff back home, and so I'm a little bit mashed. So sorry about that. But that's it for Nick McCabe really. I hope you've got something out of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments whether I've nailed it or I haven't. And I hope you've shone some light on his playing, his approach to the guitar. And I think what's really cool about Nick McCabe is, as I say, it's not just about playing the guitar as you traditionally would. It's using the guitar as like art, you know, just creating noises and sounds and going from chaos to sort of beauty, you know, like the Rolling People. You know, he's like playing this rocking guitar riff and then goes into this beautiful melody. And that's what I love about his playing. Yeah, so I hope this has helped you out today. I hope this has shone some light on some Nick McCabe stuff for you. I can't really hear much else modulation wise. As I say, I think nowadays he's using Kempers, and he seems to keep up with the times and technology and stuff. There's that great footage of him and Richard Ashcroft on MTV back in the late 90s. I remember seeing that as a kid, and I always realised that he was a different guitar player to, you know, anybody else. You know, he really was his own thing. And you know, I love the fact that Richard Ashcroft's just playing acoustic, but he's still got his amps and his pedals and creating all these sounds. Like a lot of the time when people play acoustic, they just go acoustic. But, you know, for two blokes to, you know, get up and sing these beautiful songs, and he's just playing all these lovely melody lines, and he's got reverbs and delays, and you can hear he's using a volume pedal, and he's also got using a slide in places and making like whale sounds, you know, like let's just turn this on again, like even put the fuzz on, right, and I'll try and make kind of these sounds that kind of, you know what I mean, that sort of thing. Or even, and all those kinds of sounds as well, you know, just thinking outside the box rather than just being the traditional guitar player and just playing a pentatonic scale or whatever, you know, it's really clever. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope it's shone some light on some Nick McCabe for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've got t-shirts and bucket hats. If you go to my bio, and I'll leave it in the description as well, and any links to my Instagram, Facebook, X and TikTok, so please come and say hello to us over there if you can. Yeah, I'll stop rambling on. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Take it easy. Thank you very much.